David Pollack, three-time All-American at Georgia and former ESPN college football analyst joining us on the program. All right, let me start with Alabama and Auburn. How does that happen? How does that happen, David?
Auburn. That's the only thing you need to say is Auburn. Auburn. I feel bad, man. You mentioned the Patriots. It makes me think of the Jets, like the stuff that have happened to the Jets over the years. But I was sitting there with my son, and my son goes, he's a ninth grader. He goes, rush 2 and drop everybody else. I go, no. I said, I'm bringing at least 4 because you get so much time in the pocket otherwise, and they're going to buy time. And eventually, 53-yard field, somebody's going to have a chance. You can't cover all the grass. But I didn't think Auburn did a good job. You can't turn your back to the quarterback. You can't not see the football on a 40-yard pass coming down the field. Your feet should be set in the end zone. Only Auburn. Feel bad for them, man, because they had the game won, dropped the punt, late in the football game, gave Alabama the chance. And just like Alabama does, so many times they take advantage of it.
Imagine if Alabama had lost that game heading into this game against Georgia.
Remember a couple years ago when Georgia was won, they had that overtime thriller with Auburn, and it took the sales out of it. Everybody said Alabama's done. They looked horrible. Bryce Young got sacked 12 times, something like that. It definitely would have changed the dynamic, but Alabama's still, in the playoff picture. They still got Texas, but it would have taken some of the steam out of this game. But this game is going to be awesome regardless.
Yeah, you have that game coming up, Michigan against Ohio State. The fallout from that, should Ohio State stay in the top 4?
No, absolutely not. They shouldn't stay in the top 4. And I would take them out now of the top 5, 6, 7. I'd put them behind Bama. And listen, here's the thing with Ohio State to me. Ryan Day is now 40-0, Dan, against the Big Ten, and 1-3 against Michigan. And to me, there's one reason, and this is going to sting Ohio State fans a little bit, but it's toughness. Michigan lives in a state of tough. Listen, Ohio State, credit to them. You can tell they've worked on it. They want to be more physical. They want to run the football, but that's who Michigan is constantly. They've won the rushing battle the last 3 years. The reason they've won it, but no, I think Ohio State would need. Listen, if you watch their offense, they're okay. I mean, they're pretty good. They're not an elite offense. They're not a great offense. We remember the Notre Dame game, another good opponent they played early in the season. I think Ohio State's good. I don't think they're a Final Four team.
Is Ryan Day on the hot seat?
No, I don't think he is. I think that when you look at 40-0 versus the Big Ten, and then 1-3 versus Michigan, I put it this way: I don't think he's going to get fired. Does this bring more pressure to him? Yes. Not only have you lost to Harbaugh, now you lost to an interim coach. That's not good. But man, it's hard to say somebody that's been that successful, you're going to fire him. I'm not saying it'd be unprecedented, but the dude's made the college football playoff a couple times. He's been there. But I definitely think this is disappointing. This hurts. This stings. It's something that's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. But man, are you going to fire a guy that's been this successful and this good? I don't see that happening.
Yeah, but you know what this comes down to? It's, can you beat Michigan? Can you beat Ohio State? You can beat Purdue and Indiana and Minnesota, and nobody cares.
Penn State, yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah, and winning big games, and they haven't won big games. I mean, you see against Georgia, they had an opportunity to win the game, but they didn't, and they've been there to win to big games. I get it. I understand it. Who else are you going to go get now and be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy that's going to replace Ryan Day and be a clear cut above what he's been able to accomplish.
Okay, let me go back to the toughness thing because Lou Holtz brought this up. Others have brought this up, that Ryan Day doesn't have tough teams. How do you get a tough team?
Toughness isn't like something that's all of a sudden manufactured on game day. Toughness is the way you live. Toughness is the way you practice every single day. It's the way you talk to the kids. You have to bring energy and effort and toughness every single day. If your teams take on the persona of your coaches, that's a fact. However you live constantly. So I think because they've been so spread, throw the football, running the football was kind of an afterthought. I think it's been kind of left behind. I'll say this. This game, Ohio State wasn't manhandled like they have been in the past. They showed more toughness. 4th down and short, though, I got to see you believe in yourself and in your team, and you got to go for it. It's a couple mistakes away, but toughness is something that is given to your team through you, the way you coach them and the way you take them through practice every single day.
I never thought in my lifetime that Texas A&M would hire a head coach and hire that coach away from Duke. Right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, but when this came up though with A&M, I thought Elko was a great fit for a couple of reasons. Like he's already been there. He knows the culture of A&M, super successful. He's also the opposite of Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher is a different bird, and I don't know. Jimbo Fisher's done a really good job accumulating talent, but a zero good job of doing this and bringing people together. And obviously, Elko was not the first name that they had on their list, and they went after other people, and so be it. But I think really, really good defensive coach, really, really good dude, disciplined, tough. Not going to be Jimbo-esque. Everybody will be excited to see what they do on offense because, Jimbo in the offense obviously has been lacking behind for the last several years.
Yeah, they got to get a quarterback. Can't they buy a good quarterback?
With all that oil money, dog, you figure, right? I mean, they're spending it. I mean, and here's the thing, like, you spend all that money to buy Jimbo out. Now you got to get everybody excited again, and you got to get everybody giving again. And I know all that money there is different than our money. Like, it's kind of change cushion compared to me and your bankroll, and not Ian and Dan's world either, by the way. But like, it's the money's there. The spending is going to be there. So I need somebody that can develop, somebody that can build a culture. And I think that's why Elko's your guy.
This was like the last weekend of college football as we know it, with the Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC, playoffs, all of those things. What concerns you the most moving forward?
Well, I think we've already lost the rivalries. Those are gone. The travel across the country, like, it's going to be strange, man. And you obviously kill most of the budgets of a lot of other teams in the offseason. They're going to have to be inconvenienced the most. Football won't be inconvenienced as much. But I think just losing the luster that was college football, losing the traditions, losing the passion, some of that stuff, man, I know it's like the old guy talking probably, and I love watching this, I love watching that, but a lot of those things are going to be gone. A lot of those rivalries are going to be gone. A lot of those coaching staff and those teams, like a team like Washington State who almost beat Washington, like, where do they go? Do they fall off the map now? Oregon State, their coach now goes to Michigan State, obviously. Like, do they fall off the map? Like, it stinks for those type of programs that we've seen some history and we've seen some cool things from. And those things, where do they go now?
Who gets your Heisman vote?
Jaden Daniels. I mean, listen, people are going to come at me, I know, for the 3 losses. But, dude, if you watch college football every weekend, I have a standing tweet every Saturday. Jaden Daniels is the best player in college football. Jaden Daniels is the best player in college football. He's got 90 plays of 20-plus yards or more. You know what the next closest is, Dan? 61. 61. Like, he's a human highlight film. He can't control that his defense is stuck, but man, over 1,100 yards rushing, over 50 touchdowns. And if you want to talk about over 50 touchdowns, that's Cam Newton, that's Joe Burrow, that's Tebow, that's that type of numbers that he's put up this year. He's the best player I've seen. I'm so interested to see him go to the next level because he's got some Lamar to him, some of that shake and that slight build, but throws the football a lot better, especially at this point in his career. But man, he's to me every week I turn on the television and I watch, he's the best player.
And then you got probably the 2 favorites. They're both transfers with Daniels and Bo Nix.
Yeah, and Bo Nix is really, really good. And how about that story, Dan? Like, Bo Nix comes in as a freshman, to Auburn, his dad's alma mater, beats Oregon, and then the sizzle comes off and the program leaves, and then he goes and rebuilds himself. And I'll tell you this, too. I think Bo Nix is a first-round pick. Like, that's how much his story has been turned around of being left for gone, and now leads the nation in completion percentage, passing yards, like doing a great job carrying Oregon. And he's a great player, but watching him and Jaden Daniels, the rushing component, the explosive play component, man, that's to me the separator.
But I wonder, though, this weekend with Oregon and Washington, and if Bo Nix has a big game, everybody has to have a standalone game, and he would have another opportunity for a standalone game where Daniels would not.
100%. And listen, the voters in the past, they want you to be on a national championship contender. And so I think you got Penix and Nix both still alive. The Washington quarterback, his best game, one of his best games was against Oregon. He goes and lights up Oregon again. I think people are going to be like, wait a minute, You got to be on a championship team, which I don't agree with, by the way. That doesn't make you the best player because you have the best team around you. I don't agree with that at all. I never have. And the way I vote isn't that way. But Bo Nix has an opportunity, a stage, avenge a loss. After last week, too, against Oregon State, you've been a really good ranked opponent. Dan, that's the best he's looked. They were explosive. It wasn't dink and dunk. Like, he was taking shots. It was him making big-time plays. You do it again against Washington with everybody watching, you could go get that thing.
Great to talk to you again. Thank you, bud.
Great to hear from you, Dan. See you, brother.
David Pollack, three-time All-American at Georgia and a member of the College Football Hall of Fame and former ESPN college football analyst.